Hey there, it's Gladys, and I'm here with today's burning question. And I actually got two similar questions. I may or may not answer them both at the same time, but one of them was, how can I tell if a man is right for me or if I'm just going through a trauma response, trying to make something work that's not going to work? So trauma is something, Michelle and I are trauma informed coaches, and we know that trauma has many layers. It appears very different for different people. So and a lot of people associate trauma with like some sort of abuse, of a very like horrible accident that happened. And there are layers, and there's also a spectrum of trauma. So I always like to start by being responsible about that. I don't want to sound teachy preachy, but it's important to have all of the details. So because I don't have all of the details from this person to understand what they may be seeing as a trauma response, I'm going to give an example. So if you're in a relationship with a person who is verbally abusive, meaning they're often, I can hear some birds, they're often critical, maybe they try to control or instill anger with their voice, with the tone of the voice, with the volume of their voice, maybe even with the threat of physical violence. If you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of violence, screaming, throwing things, it doesn't always have to be hitting, but it could have included that. If you were often in a state where you did not feel safe, and this is why I say that trauma has a lot of different layers, because it could be that you didn't feel safe because your family moved a lot for different reasons. Maybe one of your parents was in a job or in the military that required them to move often, and so you never felt safe in a home. And it could be that maybe there was not food safety, right? Food was not something that was often, it wasn't always available. Maybe it was you were left alone a lot, maybe you were left with a sibling, or you were the sibling who was taking care of the other. So there could be all of these reasons. But if you grew up in a chaotic environment, if you grew up where you didn't often feel safe and secure, and you were often worried about whether you were going to be okay, then you might be attracted to someone, even though you don't want the abuse and you don't want the insecurity and you don't want to feel that way. You might be attracted to someone because it's familiar. It's a familiar feeling. And so when you've lived your life in this roller coaster of, really big highs and then really deep lows, and then it goes high again, and high can feel positive and good. I don't like to put people who haven't given me permission on camera, so let me turn around. It could be that the highs were high adrenaline, high cortisol, high levels of unsafety. It could also be that the highs were moments of happiness and joy, but then there would be something that would happen that would bring, somebody lost their job, a parent got sick, you had to all of a sudden bring family members into your home that didn't used to live there. There's just some sort of sudden change. If you've been living life like this, then think about it. Being in a relationship where there's like the drama of the fight, and then we're mad at each other, and then we're making up, and it's so beautiful and wonderful, and then we get in another fight, and your life looks like this, it's going to feel familiar to you. That doesn't mean that you want it or like it. So this is I didn't want to ignore the question. God, I love being outside. I didn't want to ignore the question, but as a responsible coach, it's also important for Michelle and I to have the details so that we can not only answer your question, but also give you the steps that'll help you to heal the trauma or the heartache, right? One extreme or the other, or the disappointment or the fear. And so that you can step from a disempowered state, a dysregulated state, into an empowered one where you feel whole and complete and capable, that you're in your sovereignty, that you feel empowered to make choices, so that your past isn't what's making choices for you. You are. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. I know it's in some places it may be vague, but again, if this was your question or you have a question like it, go ahead, reply to the message that you received this video in, and we can have you speak to one of our Love Breakthrough coaches and give you some steps that you can take so that you can heal, first reveal, then heal, and then be in your empowered state so that you can create the life and love that you desire and deserve. All right. See you tomorrow on tomorrow's burning question.